There's too many people that are isolated in trying to do good work for God. They're all trying to figure out how to market Catholicism in a fresh way that actually engages people.
So we tried it the first year, had tremendous success.
It's exciting. I'm having fun. I'm meeting a lot of really great people.
I have been to all of these shows over the last year, and by far this is my favorite.
I want to emphasize the importance of what you're doing as lay apostles in the CMN.
The Catholic Marketing Network has a service that the marketplace needs and the church needs.
There's the distribution of a lot of Catholic religious items, but most of the people you talk to, they say, we really come for the networking.
It's a great joy to be here. In fact, it was almost 10 years ago that I came to the Catholic Marketing Network for the first time. There was a friend and I putting out sacred music, and Ignatius Press picked it up and they showcased us, and before you know it, we had sold 20,000 copies to people like you. And that sprungboard a company that now has reach in about 8 different countries.
I found really good and very interesting, because I like when people come from everywhere and we can learn a lot. We come to show something, but they show us too. So that's amazing.
This is always one of my favorite events.
I always love coming here and being here because it's such a synergy to be around like-minded people with the same ideals, the same love for the church. So it's beautiful.
The St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation, in partnership with Patchwork Heart Ministry and Fiat Ministry Network, present a podcast for divorced and separated Catholics.
Hi, and welcome to a podcast from the St. Raymond Nonatus Foundation for Freedom, Family, and Faith. This is Ann DeSantis, and this is our After Divorce series. I'm joined with Rose Sweet, and this is number 12 in this series for After Divorce. Welcome, Rose. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, and I'm happy but sad at the same time. We've had so much fun doing these 12 podcasts in this series for After Divorce for people who've, no matter if it's freshly divorced or it's been 10, 20 years even. So this is our last one in this series, so I'm sad about that, but I'm happy that we're doing it.
Yeah, I'm happy that we're doing it too. And there is so much information in those other podcasts that we did. So I just want to invite you who are listening to go to our YouTube channel, which is called Philly Nonatus, and subscribe to the channel, and then look for that series right there on the YouTube channel. It's also on our website at nonatus.org. And I want to also give you Rose's website so that you can get to know her if this is your first time for some of you, at rosesweet.com, because she is a Catholic coach. And not only are we going to talk about our topic today, which is living single, living well as it relates to divorce and separation and those affected, but this is going to help anybody, because she's going to talk about the lifespan and how a Catholic coach can help you. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up, because everything that we've talked about in this series really is universal. Going through trauma, being lonely, being angry, being depressed, worrying about your kids, worrying about finances. We covered all those topics. And that's not just for the separated and divorced. It's really for everybody. We all go through these universal pains of life, and we all have the same deepest longings. And ultimately, as Catholics, we know that is for union with God. We'll have that union with God most fully in heaven, but He wants us to, step away from the things that are pulling us down and step into His embrace, to step along the path with Him, and have that union with Him. And that's really the goal of our life, is to learn from our human relationships how much God loves us. And even when they let us down, He never will. So He's always calling us, come to me, come to me. And that's really what our series is about. So yes, I'm a Catholic life coach, and I love what I do. we have a little practice. Coaches throughout the world use this little thing. It's called a life wheel or other things. And you draw a big circle on a piece of paper, and then you make it into a pie with about 6 pieces. And each of those slices represents a point of your life, a side of your life, an area. So we're going to go through those today: career, financial, relationships, health, space, which is your environment, and your spirituality. So if you're going through divorce, or it's been a while, and you're trying to create a life for yourself that does not include a new relationship, another marriage, these are things we can't control. Maybe you don't want it, maybe you do. Regardless, all of us can create a beautiful life as a single person. And, and as an aside, I'm going to ask our listeners to pray for the repose of the soul and of both your father-in-law and mother-in-law, who just recently died very close to each other. So this even is for widows and widowers. We don't want to be alone, but when we find ourselves alone, that should not hold us back from having the abundant life as Jesus promises us. So let's talk about that. So the key word for this show is downsize. And I'm going to ask you, what does that word downsize mean to you?
Well, what it means to me is that I think throughout our lives, I think of material things and throughout our lives, we need to declutter and we need to focus on the now. And, I've been living in my house now, this one here, for almost 23 years. And I was just saying to my husband that we need to continue to go to the basement and the garage and the rooms and the closets, and we need to organize. So I think we need to do that with all aspects of our lives, don't we?
Yes, that and the house is the good analogy. We need to do that decluttering in all areas of our lives. So that's what we're going to talk about. We have a tendency to accumulate too much stuff in every area of our life. That's the human condition. We look to things and relationships and all kinds of stuff to fill voids. We don't like to have empty hands. We don't like to have empty stomachs. We don't like to have empty time. We're used to filling things so that we feel lost when there's an emptiness, and we panic and we rush to fill it. That's what happens after divorce. And I know I'm bouncing around here, but St. John of the Cross, one of my favorite saints, he summarizes the whole of the spiritual life, the whole of all of life, into a very simple phrase: away from things and toward God. That's what all of us should be doing, no matter how old we are and where we are in life. If you're hanging on to too many things, too much stuff, too much thought process, even too many thoughts in your head, too many anxieties, too many worries, too many relationships, too many responsibilities, too many ministries, it's time to take a breath and go, wait a minute. What can I do well? What does God really want me to do? And what do I need to let go of? So downsizing is part of the spiritual life, which is detachment. We know as Catholics, we grew up hearing this word. We still hear this word. The thing is detaching from the things of the world that are good. Your house is good. Your relationships are good. But we have to not hold them so tightly and be so afraid of losing them. And open and move away from things and toward God. So let's look at the first area of the life circle. It's career. If you're post-divorce, you might find yourself working way too much to fill the void so you don't have to feel the pain. You might not be working at all. You may be somebody who is a stay-at-home parent, and now you have to work and you don't have a job and you're terrified. Or maybe you are blessed and you have plenty of money and you don't need to work. But each of those areas we need to take a look at after divorce. Where are you and how can you live single and live well and have the abundant life? So if you're working too much, it's usually out of fear and panic. And I know everybody's situation is different. But Anne, do you know anybody that works way, 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 way too much? Are you looking in the mirror?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yes, I do.
Okay. So the reason is this is the thinking. I need to please God more. So if I take on more and I take care of these people and I take care of all these people and I take care of this thing and I take care of this, then I'll be a good person and God will be pleased with me. There's a danger there because now we're getting on to performance. We're performing for God because we're not really sure He loves us and is pleased with us if we're doing less. So on our culture feeds into this too, perform, and we look at the lives of the saints. Look at everything they did. Well, we're looking at their whole life. They took naps, they took vacations, they sat on the edge of a rock or a river, and they spent time just doing nothing, just thinking, just praying. We don't do that. We're afraid to do that because then the negative thoughts will come, the fears will come, the anxieties will come. So we stay too busy and we're killing ourselves. Now, what keeps us from letting go? Anne, what would you say? What would keep, if I told you, Anne, you're doing too much. I've looked at your life. Mm-hmm. You're a good person and you do a lot for a lot of people, but you need to let go of something. What's the immediate reaction that you would have when I say you need to let go?
Yeah, I mean, I think for all of us, and even for me, I mean, the immediate thing is, what should I do? And the best advice that I can give for myself is time limits on work. I think, like saying, you know what, it's Friday night at 5:00. I don't need to work until Monday morning. I mean, that's an example. Or it's 6 or 7 o'clock on a weeknight. I can spend the rest of the night with my family instead of constantly working.
Okay, but why do you want to constantly work? That's where, as a life coach, I would say, okay, that's good that you said I have to, turn the computer off and go to my family. But why? Why are we working so hard? It's usually fear of not making enough money, fear of not doing our job well, fear of disappointing people, fear of not helping enough people. You and I are both in ministry and our work is ministry. So sometimes we just take on too much responsibility that God did not intend for us to have. Mm-hmm. And here's what I always tell myself. And you and I don't have to save the world because Jesus already did. Mm-hmm. He just says, Anne and Rose, I want you to help me in my work. And you don't have to do a ton. You have you're a certain age, you're a certain place in your life, you have certain responsibilities. I'm not going to demand all this stuff of you to make so that you will please me and you will be holy. So we kind of have a wrong image of how God sees us. He's very pleased with us. Now, let's flip over to the person who doesn't work enough, who is lazy and procrastinating and stuck, afraid of hard work, afraid of going out there. I mean, all of us have our issues to deal with work, but work after a divorce or separation can be a blessing because it's something we can sink our teeth into and do good and feel good about ourselves. But it can be an excuse and a place we hide. So each person has to,